And welcome to the NFC West Huddle, where we talk about all the big storylines around the NFC West. I'm Aaron Levine in Seattle, and I'm joined today by Richard Sines in Phoenix, Frank Malacote in San Francisco, and Gerard Moncure in Los Angeles. Guys, I know week 2 of the preseason is upon us now, but let's rewind a bit and take a look back at the preseason openers. What were your biggest takeaways from those games? Let's start with Frank and the 49ers.
All right, guys. Well, I don't think I'm alone in this fact, even with the head coach of the 49ers, but I don't like preseason football. I hate it when you got to have a program to find out who's played in the game. And, of course, all the starters were in their skivvies for this one. In fact, Kyle Shanahan did not even call the play, so that tells you what he thinks about it as well. 49ers, of course, got their starting quarterback, and he's a stud, but they're looking for a backup, and they got 2 capable guys. They both played pretty well despite a loss to Tennessee. Brandon Allen was on the squad last year as a backup, a third stringer, and he looks like he might have a shot of it. He was very capable in the first half. And Josh Dobbs, who had a nice run with the Vikings last year when their quarterback went down, he played pretty well, threw 1 pick, 14 to 20, 146 yards. And there's also a guy on defense that I did not know. He's a 4th-round pick out of Wake Forest, and you might remember this name, Malik Mustafa. He wears number 43, and he had a stop on a 4th and goal play where he put the Titan running back behind the line of scrimmage, and it was right out of shades of Ronnie Lott. So that was kind of fun. And it was fun to talk 49ers for 3 hours and not hear the word Brandon Ayuk, because we're kind of tired of that situation. And song remains the same, still holding out, hoping to get some more money from the Niners.
That is certainly a saga down there with Ayuk. Richard, how about the Cardinals in week 1 of the preseason?
Well, if you guys are tired of Brandon Ayuk, go ahead and send him to us. He's a former Sun Devil. We loved him here, and of course the Cardinals would love to have him. And you know, it's kind of funny because I like the preseason for one reason and one reason only. It's a step in the right direction towards the regular season, right? And you know, the takeaway I got from the Cardinals was Clayton Tune's the better quarterback when it comes to the backup to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray didn't play. Marvin Harrison, the number 1 pick, Maserati Marv, they call him, did play the first series, 3 plays, didn't get the ball thrown to him. Head coach Jonathan Gannon said he wanted to kind of have a dress rehearsal, wanted to get him used to driving to the stadium, getting dressed up, getting into the game, and then go sit him down and let him play later in the season, right? But on the defensive side of the football, the other number 1 draft pick for the Cardinals, Darius Robinson, did play. And I'm telling you, when I saw this guy in the offseason, it looked like he was made in a lab. I mean, he looked like he had muscles on top of muscles. He was, I was like, who is this guy? And not only is he a talented player, he's a student of the game. He's always working on his technique. He wants to know why they do this and why he should do that. And you could tell it's translated onto the field. He was fantastic, causing all kinds of havoc, disrupting plays, getting to the quarterback, made the first tackle of the game, and he was kind of as good as advertised. He was the one guy I really wanted to see. So, yeah, preseason is preseason, and, of course, we'll wait and see until the starters play, and then that's when the fun really starts.
Absolutely. And Gerard, how about the Rams?
Well, we all know Sean McVay does not put a lot of stock into the preseason. The starters don't play at all. So that means Jimmy Garoppolo and Stetson Bennett at quarterback, and Jimmy G did not play it down. He's not going to play in the first 2 games of the regular season, even if Matthew Stafford was hurt, because he has a PED suspension. So that left for Stetson Bennett, who, of course, this was his first PT for an entire season because he missed all of last year due to he was on leave for mental illness situation. Some believe it was alcohol related. So he was rusty, did throw 5 picks. 1 was called back, but when the game was on the line, he led the team to a 75-yard touchdown drive. And on basically their last chance, 4th and goal from the 6, he rolled left, made a nice play across his body, throwing the winning touchdown pass with 4 seconds left. So that had everyone going home happy. On the defensive side of the ball, they kept the Cowboys out of the end zone. I know it's only 2s and 3s, but the Cowboys were held to 4 field goals, and the starters didn't even play. So there's a good sign there. The thing I like about the preseason right now is it's only 3 games. So we're going to get to the games that count a lot sooner than we would before. And, you know, just 2 more of these, and we'll get down to business. But, you know, I think the Rams were happy that they came away with a victory. And they left on a high note. We'll see if they can carry that into the next preseason game against the Chargers at SoFi on Saturday.
Yeah, and hopefully in future years, we'll only be talking about 2 preseason games and a longer regular season. As for the Seahawks, I'm going to go with physicality and third down conversions. They face the Chargers in Jim Harbaugh's coaching debut, and Harbaugh is known for his team's toughness and physicality. It was actually the Seahawks winning at the line of scrimmage and the point of attack. 157 rushing yards, 39 total rushing attempts, and then they held the Chargers to just 2 of 13 on third downs. Seattle was 11 of 20 on third down on offense. These are the types of things that have been missing the last few years under Pete Carroll. So if this becomes a trend in regular season games also, look out for the Hawks this season. Quickly, let's turn our attention to this weekend's games. Let's start with the Sunday game first. The Niners hosting the Saints. Frank, what are you looking forward to the most in that one?
Well, it's going to be prime time, of course, across most of the Fox stations. Here in the Bay Area, and especially here at KTVU, we will be watching the backup quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, a kid out of the Bay Area, went to Monte Vista High School and Fresno State. He just happens to be, that's Jake Haener, by the way, and his mother was the lead anchor here for almost 30 years. She just retired. So we got a soft spot for Jake, so we'll be keeping an eye on the local guy. Also, who are going to be the backups, the 4, 5, and 6 wide receivers on the 49ers? I think we know 1, 2, and 3. Juwan Jennings, you got Debo, and hopefully Ayuk, if he does sign. But you got Ronnie Bell, second-year player out of Michigan. He had a quiet game. Jacob Cowling, quiet game, a 4th-rounder out of Arizona. Tate Martin came off the practice squad the last couple of years. He actually played well in the game. 5 catches, 58 yards. They just signed a veteran wideout by the name of Robbie Chosen out of Miami. He's played for about 4 or 5 teams. He's 31, has great speed, and Shanahan, the head coach, seems to like him a lot. And all eyes on Ricky Pearsall. He was the first-round pick out of Florida, maybe the heir apparent to Brandon Ayuk. We don't know yet, but he's certainly there waiting. But the guy has been injured most of training camp. He's got a bum shoulder. Not sure if he's even going to suit up for this game. And the other thing to keep an eye on are injuries. They've got 23 different players right now with injuries from minor to severe, and that's not a good thing. In fact, the Saints and the 49ers were supposed to have practices together, dual practices, but Shanahan had to call them off because he just didn't have enough healthy players and didn't want to go toe-to-toe with those guys. So that's the important thing. Stay healthy and see what happens come Sunday night in prime time on Fox.
And we're also familiar with Jake Haener up here in Seattle, having time at UW during his collegiate career. The other 3 NFC West games are on Saturday. The Rams at the Chargers. Gerard, both of them are going to feel at home in that one. But what do you want to see in that from the Rams other than fewer interceptions from Stetson Bennett?
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I think they want to see some more consistency from Stetson Bennett. Between the 20s, he was great. But once they got in the red zone, there were problems. So they're going to look for consistency out of him. Again, as I said earlier, the defense didn't allow the Cowboys to score a touchdown. So they would like to continue that trend. The red zone defense was spectacular. On the Chargers side of the ball, they did not look good. They lost 16-3 in their opener. Easton Stick, 5 of 13, I believe, just 31 yards as the starter. Of course, Justin Herbert dealing with plantar fascia in his right foot. I mean, they don't know if he's going to be, right now they believe he's going to be there for the opener, but there's no, that's not an automatic at all. So Easton Stick could possibly be the starter when they open the year. So they're going to need to see a lot more out of him. That offense went 3 and out 3 times to start that game in the preseason. That's not a good sign. So they need more consistency and better production from Easton Stick. And then also you're going to see some Max Duggan in this game, and probably even the number 4 quarterback, Luis Perez, as they continue to search to just generate some type of offense. Again, they're not using a bunch of starters either. So these things happen, but the backups should be much better than they were for the Bolts in that opening preseason game.
Well, elsewhere, the Cardinals at the Colts. Richard, what can we expect from the Cardinals in that one?
Well, I expect to see Marvin Harrison, get some plays and get the ball thrown to him, unlike in game one. And this guy is really an interesting story because a lot of people have been asking him, what's it like coming to the Cardinals and playing for the team that Larry Fitzgerald played for, being compared to him since he was a first-round pick. And, he's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, a legend here in town. And I love the answer he gave. He just said, look, I've been compared to a Hall of Famer my whole life because his father, Marvin Harrison Sr., was a Hall of Famer with the Indianapolis Colts. And that's kind of the cool thing that the Cardinals are in Indianapolis right now having joint practices with the Colts, and it's kind of like a homecoming of sorts for him because there's so many videos where he's a kid and he's wearing his dad's jersey on the field, whether his dad was playing or getting honored by the Colts. So that's been kind of cool to see him go back there, and I'm sure he's going to want to have a good game there as well. And when it comes to the quarterbacks, once again, I want to see that battle for the backup quarterback position. Clayton Tune outplayed Desmond Ridder, who the Cardinals traded for. They traded Rondell Moore to the Falcons to get Ridder, who a lot of people thought was a pretty good trade when you consider Ridder's style is kind of similar to Kyler Murray's, where they're mobile, they like to run, they like to roll out when they throw, and you want to kind of have a similar guy as your backup. That way your offense doesn't change if you lose your starter. But Ridder has not had a good training camp, did not have a good first game. Clayton Tune outplayed him, so I want to see if Ridder responds. And then on the defensive side of the football, once again, the Darius Robinson kid, he was great. I'd like to see him play a little bit more, and I want to see that D-line for the Arizona Cardinals. That was a weakness for them last year. They've got some draft picks there. They've got some new guys there as well, free agents. And I want to see how the defense stacks up because last year teams were able to run on the Cardinals consistently, and it's hard to win when you can't stop the run, that's for sure.
And now the Cardinals are having joint practices with the Colts all week. And as far as the Seahawks, I hate to break it to Seahawks fans. Their official preseason game is Saturday against the Titans, but everything we really needed to see already happened this week in joint practices with the Titans. I mean, they went full pads on Wednesday and Thursday. They went ones against ones. The practices weren't televised, and those two teams don't play each other during the regular season. So they were actually able to open up the playbook and see what worked and what didn't work and really see how they stack up against another team. So what we're going to see on Saturday, it's just table dressing. Most starters are not going to play. Mike McDonald said that. If you're a Seahawks fan who paid to go to Nashville, you might be better off checking the old Ryman Auditorium and the Grand Ole Opry than going to the game. Kind of seems like a waste of time to me, but that's just my opinion. Coming up, we're just getting started here on the NFC West Huddle. We are going to ask how each team will improve or suffer a decline this season and why. That's coming up next year on the NFC West Huddle. Well, welcome back to the NFC West Huddle. Let's recap where we ended up last season. Well, the 49ers made it all the way to the Super Bowl, but lost to Taylor Swift and the team she was rooting for because of her boyfriend, who also happens to play for the Chiefs. Frank, do you think the Niners are going to go into the season with a chip on their shoulders because they just can't seem to finish the job, or has the Kyle Shanahan era peaked and starting to come back down to earth?
No, the biggest chip has got to be Kyle Shanahan. I mean, he's been to 3 Super Bowls as a coach. One as a defensive coordinator. Super Bowl 51, taking on the Patriots when he was with the Falcons. You know the scenario. Third quarter up 28-3 in the El Foldo, and then losing twice to the Chiefs. A couple of years ago, 2020, they were up. Jimmy Garoppolo throws a pick in the fourth quarter. That one ends up with Kansas City winning. And of course, last year they go to overtime. They're up. They give the ball back to Mahomes. He takes it down and goes in for the touchdown. So if anyone's got a chip on their shoulder, it is 49ers. And as George Allen would say, the future is now because Brock Purdy's still on a rookie deal. So a lot of that money filters out to all the other players. But next year, the guy's going to get paid between $40 and $60 million. And a lot of some of these fringe players or pretty good players are going to have to go to another team because they can't afford to keep them. So I think Kyle Shanahan's going to empty the tank this year. And I think the players realize that, Purdy's going to get paid. So if not this year, when? So, yeah, they're going to play with a big chip.
Oh, the reality of the salary cap in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Rams finished 10-7 but lost to the Lions in the wild card round. Aaron Donald announced his retirement after the season. Thank goodness for everybody else in the division. But still, there are reports the pass rushers dominated during the joint practices with the Cowboys. Is that true, Gerard?
It is. Ernest Jones IV, all about it. He was a great player last year. He has learned directly under Aaron Donald, so he's the leader of that defense. And then you've got the two rookies from Florida State, Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk, who have so far performed above rookie level. Again, they have not performed in a game yet, but in these type of scrimmages and practices, Sean McVay has had nothing but rave reviews about both of these guys. That Ram defensive line returns a lot of guys that played a lot of football last year. Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Bobby Brown III. So they got their feet wet last year, and this year they are much more experienced defensive front. It would not be just Aaron Donald if he were back, but they have found some pieces to maybe not replace a future Hall of Famer, but they are going to be a sound front that everyone in that NFC West is going to have to deal with.
Well, the Cardinals finished last season in last place. Richard, you mentioned the excitement over the fourth pick in the draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. He only played that one series, wasn't targeted in that preseason loss. What have you seen from him in practice, though? Is he living up to the hype so far?
Yeah, he is amazing. He is just so smooth. He runs good routes. He catches the ball. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of me when I was in the 7th grade against the 5th graders. I was just blown by those kids. I mean, they had no chance, right? You can just tell this guy is the real deal. He's going to be a special player. By the way, I just want to say I love this show. When we're quoting George Allen, that this is a great show. So I got to quote Denny Green and say the Bears are who we thought they were. And we let him off the hook. But anyway, I just had to go there with the George Allen thing, quoting old coaches and stuff. But yeah, I think Marvin Harrison has been fantastic so far. He's going to be as good as advertised. And this question is easy. Of course, the Cardinals are going to be much improved this year because they have so much room for improvement compared to last year. And the main reason for their improvement will be not just Marvin Harrison and the great draft class that they had, but they have a healthy Kyler Murray this year. Last year, Kyler Murray was injured to start the year, so he was injured the whole offseason. This year, he's been a part of the offseason program. He's actually took guys out of town on their own, working out on their own. They bonded. He fit the bill for everybody. It was pretty cool to see all the receivers out there working with him, working on their timing. So I think Marvin Harrison is going to be great. Trey McBride had his breakout year last year at tight end. Now he's got the defenders worrying about Marvin Harrison. The middle of the field could be wide open for him. Michael Wilson was a first-round rookie last year. He did well. And Greg Dortch could be a sleeper pick in your fantasy draft. Remember him in the late rounds. Greg Dortch could be a great pickup. My team, the Chimichangas, are going to pick him up late, and it's going to be a steal, I'm telling you right now.
Well, we wish the Chimichangas a lot of luck in their fantasy football season this upcoming year. A couple of 9-8 seasons the last 2 years for Pete Carroll and the Seahawks, almost reminding us of the Jeff Fisher days with the Rams, if you want another old-school coach reference. That's if they would have gone 8-8 instead of 9-8. It was time for a change, though, with Carroll. I mean, they made the change, and there's a ton of excitement about this new offense and what it can do with Ryan Grubb as their offensive coordinator. Grubb was at the University of Washington last year. They had one of the top offenses in the country with Michael Penix Jr. and Roma Dunze and company. He's innovative. He's an enormous step up from Shane Waldron at offensive coordinator. And the guys who will benefit the most, DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Watch out for those guys this year, a potential for big, big things as the Seahawks start stretching the field a little bit more. Coming up next, our game of fair or foul isn't limited to Washington sports wrap. We're going to include our NFC West Huddle team chiming in on some of the hottest topics around the division. Well, welcome back, guys. We play a game on Washington Sports Wrap called Fair or Foul. I'm going to make a statement, and you tell me whether you agree with it or not by calling it fair or foul. We're going to go south to north. So Arizona first, L.A., then San Francisco, and then Seattle. The first statement is this. Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald says he likes their chances of winning the NFC West. Fair or foul?
Big time foul. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Not with that quarterback situation. I don't see that happening at all. I think the Niners are still the kings of the division until somebody dethrones them.
Gerard?
I'm going to say fair.
Wow.
I think that the division is pretty equal this year. Ooh. The Niners are still the favorite, but everyone is caught up, in my opinion. I think the Niners have had their window, and I think everyone else is knocking on the door to step in. It really comes down to who can stay healthy. If the Seahawks stay healthy, if the Cardinals stay healthy, if the Rams stay healthy, I think they've all got a chance to knock off the Niners.
How about you, Frank?
I say foul, foul, foul. I think 49ers are clearly favored in this. Swept the series last year. What were the 28-16, 31-13 over Seattle. Since you've lost Russell Wilson, they are 0-5 against the 49ers. They beat the Rams twice. I'd have to look up Arizona, but I think they got smoked 2 times as well. Brock Purdy's on a mission. He came in with bigger biceps. He got married. He feels good. He had a full offseason. Didn't have the bum elbow from the NFC title game. I say look out. If we get Brandon Ayuk, this is now. They got to do it this year.
Well, you can't argue with bigger biceps with Brock Purdy. I do appreciate Gerard's optimism. I'm actually, though, going to say foul as well. I think they win the division in 2025, but I think this year is more about closing the gap between them and the Niners. And if they can get anywhere close to how the Baltimore Ravens defense played against Brock Purdy and the Niners last year, they're going to be doing their job. I still think the Niners win the division, but the Seahawks will be closer than last year. Next up, this year's NFC Championship game will feature a team from the NFC West. Is that fair or foul? Richard?
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, and I think, you know, this is a tough division. You know, the Cardinals are on the way up. You know, Seattle's on the way up. And, of course, as I mentioned, I think the Niners are still the kings of the division. And I think Brock Purdy's going to be even better than he was last year. Maybe I'm a little biased because he went to high school here. But, yeah, I say that's fair for sure.
Gerard?
I say it's fair, but I think it's going to be the Rams as long as they can stay healthy and keep Matthew Stafford upright.
Wow.
They've got a running game. They've got an experienced offensive line, which they should be able to get healthy. They've got 3 guys out right now, but they're not serious injuries. And then they've got Kyren Williams. They drafted Blake Corum. They've got Boston Scott. They've got these little 5'8" guys that are hard to deal with behind the line of scrimmage. And if the Rams can run the ball consistently, which they weren't able to do all year last year, and they protect Matthew Stafford, their offense is as good as any team in the National Football League.
Frank?
I think it's fair, too. You know how I feel. I mean, we're all Niners all the time up here, and I think it all falls on Brock Purdy. Finally, his 3rd year, the end of his rookie contract. He's got a big dollar deal awaiting him. He's been in the NFC title game twice as a starter, first couple of years in the league. I say watch out. I think the Niners, it's got to be the year. If it's not this year, they're going to start the great decline. So, yeah, I see an NFC West team in that NFC title game.
And I'm a big Vegas guy, so the Niners are still the odds-on favorite to reach the Super Bowl from the NFC, so I will say fair as much as I don't want to. All you have to do is look at the current odds to win the NFC. The Niners are at plus 260. The next closest team in the division is the Seahawks at 30-1 to win the NFC. So I'm saying no. That's probably fair that the Niners, if anybody, is going to make it to the NFC Championship game. And finally, will we see a fight? We will see a fight break out on the field between 2 of the NFC West teams at some point this season. Is that fair or foul, Richard?
Oh, that's totally fair. That's fair for sure because, you know, the Cardinals and their new coaching staff, Jonathan Gannon, he preaches violence, right? He wants his defense to be violent, and even the offense is violent. James Conner almost got in a fight during the Colts joint practices. So, yeah, there's going to be at least one fight within the division for sure.
Gerard?
I'm going to say fair. I think that there's just nasty blood between the Rams and Seahawks and the Rams and Niners. The Rams and Cardinals kind of are chummy for the most part, but the Rams and Niners hate each other. The Rams and Seahawks hate each other. So I could see it being in one of those combinations where, you know, tempers get loose, probably tight games, and, you know, it happens.
Frank?
I think the Raider preseason game in a week might be a little more vicious than the NFC back-to-backers here. But, yeah, I think so. I mean, let's face it, Northern California, Southern California, no one loves the Rams up here. No one in the building in Santa Clara likes the Rams. And Sean McVay, by the way, used to be an intern here at KTVU moons ago. We love him, but we don't like his team. So I can see something happening there. And, of course, in the last 10, 15 years, the Seattle rivalry has really, really grown. So, Yeah, I could see something there as well, at least in one of those two games.
And I'll say this, if DK Metcalf is picking fights with his own teammates in training camp right now, he's bound to start something again with another player from a divisional rival. His maturity continues to come into question, so for now, I'm going to say fair. That's going to do it for us here on the NFC West Huddle. We'll be doing these every single week throughout the season, and if you missed any part of it, you can catch full episodes on the Fox Local app. Thanks a lot, guys, and have a great night, everyone.